Hey guys, welcome back to Exploring Park City Living. Today we're going to get into the Park City Homebuyer Guide. If you're dreaming of owning a home in Park City but feel overwhelmed of the process with multi-million dollar price tags, unique properties, fierce competition, navigating this market can be daunting. So stick with me. I'll show you the exact steps to make your dream of living in this mountain paradise a reality and when you break it down, it's not that bad. So let's get through it. So to start with, you want a clear home buying objective, right? You want to be able to have a budget, a location, a purpose. Like you want to have like what is the purpose in buying a property in Park City? Is it a ski and ski out home that you're gonna offset with Airbnb or long-term rental? Are you going to want a single family home? Do you want to move here? Do you need amenity rich communities? Like, do you need to be in a golf course community? Because you really like that's maybe you're in a community at home now and you're used to it. So you're like, okay, I need a golf course community. I need something like Glenwild, Promontory, Tuhey, um, Red Ledges, something like that. Or like, no, I need ski and ski out. Or like, I need a mix of both. So it's just like really, you got to figure out your purpose for buying, and then you can kind of figure out, uh, what you want, and then create a budget and make sure what you want is in your budget, because there's always give and takes and compromise there with that. And then you can narrow down location based on your purpose and your budget, um, and all of that stuff. So that's your key first thing, because then once you have that, you're gonna need to figure out your budget, which is also a pre-approval, so that you're actually looking in realistic areas for what you can afford. So getting a pre-approval is also key to writing offers. You can't write an offer without a pre-approval or proof of funds. If you're buying cash, 60% of everything bought in Park City is bought with cash. Not saying that they don't refinance out or take a portfolio loan later, but when they're coming to the closing table, it's all with cash. So, so whether you have financing or not, you're gonna need to know all of that. Calculate payments, taxes, insurance, HOAs. If you want an HOA or not. HOAs are huge in Park City, so they're very common. The only way you're not really going to get into that is if you have a single family home in a neighborhood that doesn't have one, like a non-gated community. Sorry, gotta turn that off. But so stuff like that. And then also HOAs are pretty expensive, so you always want to kind of factor that in when you're looking. And then once you have that clear, like pre-approval, or you like really know how much you can afford, which is that's the topic for a different video, but I'll make that at some point soon. So once you have that, then you can really dive in and kind of set some boundaries and look at what you're interested in. And then once you're looking at that, you can kind of see like what's a good deal. Like if you're looking at it long enough, you can see what's a good deal, what's coming up. But I know a lot of people buy here that aren't from here. So there are a lot of things, nuances that you need to know as a local, or just as like, okay, yeah, that community's going through a lawsuit with the HOA. Like, you got to watch out for that. That's why they're cheaper than most. Stuff like that, where you wouldn't really know until you go under contract and then you get the HOA documents and then you dig into the HOA documents. Yeah. So like stuff like that, you got to know. Benefits of hiring a Park City agent it's for market insights, local trends. Like for an example, knowing inventory peaks and troughs. Like, it usually peaks in June, July. And if you're looking for a ski and scale property, you probably want to buy before October, because that's when usually the homeowners um, usually bank on nightly rentals for the winter. And around October is like right before people are getting bookings. And it's like they've been holding on all summer with like very minimal bookings probably. And so they're kind of desperate at October. And that's like when you have right off the peak of inventory. It's kind of coming down towards December is kind of usually the low. So you kind of want to match that to where if you're looking in December, like everyone's ski and scale properties, they're all like, I'm all good. I'm going to hold to my number because I'm getting bookings rolling in right now. Like somebody just signed up for um, Christmas, somebody just signed up for Sundance, and like I'm good. I'm sitting pretty. Where like before October, when they're like hold on throughout the whole summer, and they're like hopefully bookings come in, that's when you can come in and get a good deal. Just stuff like that, right? That's just like one example. There's so many nuances within this market that having a local agent is just so like. For example, I helped buy a house for a client a couple months ago in Germany, or sorry, not Germany. Right? Well, I did, but that was a different house in a hideout, and they originally had it posted for 2.9 million because they didn't realize when they bought it, they didn't have an agent, and they bought it, and they didn't realize that it wasn't in this Park City School District, and that was a must for them. And so they turned around and tried selling it, and they put it up for 2.9, which is also just like not like they had to drop it to 1.9 to get it sold. So chasing the market down, and with a huge mistake by not having an agent represent you, led them to lose $1 million. So I don't know if they lost it because they never had it, but they did lose. I think they did lose money on the property, which they bought it in 2020 and sold it in 2024, like in Park City, and you lost. Like that's, you could literally throw a dart at a map and buy anything in 2020 and make money in Park City. So really good example where not having good representation or representation at all can cost you. And then there's also leveraging local relationships with like an agent, like knowing other agents and other people in the community, knowing some off-market opportunities as well, stuff like that. As well as like leveraging the MLS and online platforms. So agent expertise is huge. So moving on from that, making an offer. So you got to determine, the fair market value mixed with your what you value, with strategic negotiations and pricing and custom offers. So that's another way, like a local good agent will help you out with creating custom structures to offers, depending on your needs. Like a lot of times I've had clients go, I didn't even know that was possible, like that we could ask for that or do that. So that's huge to know. Really talking with your agent about your needs, even if you don't think that they could solve it, throw it out there, because there might be, like, they might have a solution for that. And so more than just show properties, we problem solve. So give your agent all your problems, and their job is to solve it. So, and I love doing that. So but you need your pre-approval, and that's about it to make an offer. You need pre-approval or proof of funds. So if you have cash, just like screenshot of your bank account, or a letter from your bank stating you have the funds, something along those lines. And then you're off to the races. You can make an offer. Um, so if you are considering buying, selling, or investing or relocating to Park City, I'd love to be your guide here as I'm giving you the online guide. Um, whether you're, you want that ski and ski out property or a family-friendly neighborhood, um, I got the expertise that can make it happen for you. Give me a call, 801-837-4445, 801-837-4445, or check out in the video description. I got all my details there. So let's make that happen for you. So once you're under contract, now the real stuff happens. You got the timeline that I'm going to go through and kind of the next steps, right? So you needed the pre-approval to get the offer done, and then once you get the offer accepted, then within 4 days you have to what I like doing is bank wiring your earnest money deposit. So it's a deposit, it's refundable if you cancel within the guidelines of the contract, within the contingencies that you have within the contract and within reason. And if you lapse on those contingency deadlines and you want to cancel, your earnest money could be at risk. And earnest money is usually about 2% of the asset. So if it's $1 million home, $20,000 earnest money, that goes towards your down payment at closing, but it's just money up front saying, hey, I'm real, I'm here, I'm serious, and I'm putting this up, and I get it back if I want to cancel within my rights. But if I want to cancel last minute for no reason and all of the dates have been passed, then okay, you got to figure it out with the seller. They can take the earnest money and say, see you later. So you really want to be clear communication with your agent about deadlines and are we on track? So after that, you have a due diligence deadline. That is the time frame that you want to get an inspection and go through the whole house, make sure that the layout works for you, maybe anything you want to remodel, get people in there to get bids, check over the HOA documents, make sure that the HOA is not getting sued and you're going to be out, or there's no upcoming assessments. So there was a few assessments that came through in the past couple of years because deferred maintenance, and some units sold for a lot less than others, and so you have to be like, what's going on? Like, what happened was, like, say one unit is selling for $1 million, and then one unit selling for 1.2 million, but there's a $200,000 assessment. One of them sold for $1 million, one of them sold for 1.2 million. What do you think happened? Well, the $1 million one, the buyer probably has to pay for the assessment. And so the seller passed on that $200,000 to the buyer to pay for that assessment. The $1.2 million sale, the seller probably paid for the $200,000 assessment and then gave the buyer free non-encumbered title, right, of any payments going forward in the foreseeable future. So stuff like that you gotta look into. HOA documents are usually 100 pages long, so you gotta make sure that you can nightly rent if you want a nightly rent, or you can create an ADU if you need to create an ADU, or you want to put a pool in, whatever. Pools aren't really that popular in Park City, but yeah, stuff like that. Everything you need to know to be comfortable with purchasing the house, you got to get done during due diligence. And it really depends. Like, I've had 1-day due diligences. Those are usually experienced investors trying to outperform other offers. Then there's 3-week due diligences where they want 3 weeks. Maybe they have something else in their life that they need to, secure down in 3 weeks. The shortest timeline that you're comfortable with, because that's a stronger offer, right? Less time that you can just cancel without any notice. Well, you need to give them notice, but you don't need to give them a reason, right? During due diligence. And then the next contingency is financing and appraisal. So you got earnest money 4 days, due diligence probably 2 weeks, financing and appraisal probably 3 weeks, or a little bit more, depending. It also depends on if you have a complicated HOA and is there a front desk and what are the lender requirements. So a lot of nuances here. But yeah, usually you have financing and appraisal deadline, say 3 weeks, and between going under contract and the end of your financing and appraisal, you want to get it clear to close there. So you got to be working with your lender, giving him all the information promptly, so then he can run it through underwriting and come back with any needed changes before that deadline, right? You have to also get the appraisal back and make sure it appraises, and so the bank's okay with lending on it, depending on how much you're putting down. If you're putting a lot down, sometimes you can waive the appraisal. All that needs to be done for financing and appraisal. And then after your financing and appraisal, and if you're going cash, then you don't have a financing deadline or contingency. You might have an appraisal contingency, but I mean, if you're buying cash, it's definitely an advantage to not be able to have an appraisal. Even if you want an appraisal, maybe not have the contingency of one. Just makes your offer stronger, and you can usually get a better price because of that. So yeah, and then you want to get everything done by financing and appraisal, and then after that, all you got to do is get ready to close. But yeah, navigating the due diligence period is probably one of the biggest. That and getting all your lender documents together is probably the biggest part of the transaction, right? You got to get a home inspection and then address all the findings of the home inspection. Look over all the HOA documents that I was saying earlier, and manage risks to your situation. Like, figure out what the house needs during that inspection. Is it something major that you weren't accounting for, that you couldn't see by walking through it, right? You want like a solid agent that will be able to point out things like walking through the house. So then when the inspection comes along, you're not like, what? It needs a new roof, it needs a new furnace, it needs a new hot water heater. You're like, or boiler. We're just walking through. It's just as simple as just knowing to check off, like, okay, how old's the hot water heater? How old's the furnace? So you're more informed up front at the first offer number you put in. So you don't always have to renegotiate during due diligence, because it makes it smoother. It makes it a better process when you're more informed up front at that first initial offer. So having an agent that isn't afraid to look at that and tell you their opinion. Obviously, they are not a contractor, and like getting your second opinion during due diligence is what you should do, but being more informed up front is awesome. Like, I used to be a mechanic, so like I really love engineering and mechanical stuff, trying to figure, like, knowing how things work. So, and to be honest, cars are so much more complicated than houses. it's kind of crazy. So, like, when I'm walking through with clients, I'll point out, these windows are this old. The roof from, because of the way it is it's probably this old. That, and also just talking with the sellers, trying to get the seller disclosures up front too. Like, there's a disclosure page that the sellers need to fill out once you go under contract with them. Getting that before the offer is awesome too, because then you're more informed up front. But all of that, if there are major things that came up in the inspection, then you can ask for them to repair it, or just a credit at closing so you can do it yourself. I like the latter just because if the current owners repair it at their standards and it's not up to your buyer's standards, then you have an argument. And then it's like, well, no, I wanted it done like that with this material. and you did it with this, like that, with that material. And then you're like, oh no, we have to delay closing because we have to redo this. It's like, no, just agree on a price that you can get that done for, put it in a credit, move on. You can do it after closing. Some minor things where it's clear that both people are on the same page, like we need to put fire alarms up. Can you put fire alarms up? Like something like that. It's like easy ask to do, you know? So, but it depends. Some buyers just like, as soon as it closes, I want it to be perfect. So like you do all the work. Whatever. To each their own, you know what I mean? But for settlement and closing, you got to get the clear to close before the financial appraisal deadline, or at least a guaranteed from the lender. And then you get your settlement statement, your closing statement. Make sure all the numbers look good, and you are in clear communication with title, lending, and the buyer. That's my job as an agent. Have all that work together. Make sure that you have your cash to close ready, to wire, to title, and then set up a date for closing, whether that be in person signing all the documents or online with a notary, or depending on where you are. I've done deals with people outside of the country, so we had to jump through a bunch of extra hoops for that. But just knowing that those are coming and preparing for them, and so you get a clean, smooth transaction and close without any problems. And then, you know, once you close, then you set up your utilities, make sure your homeowner's insurance should be before close, but and then you plan moving in, and movers, maybe getting all your furniture, etc. So, also, a thing to note that I just remembered. Once you start looking for a house, don't go buy a new car. Don't do anything that would change your credit score. Don't open a huge line of credit. Don't do any of that, because that is going to drastically impede on your financing ability. It'll change your debt to income ratio. It'll change the whole lending underwriting and standards, and I've seen deals fall out. I personally have not had a deal fall out because of that, because I'm clear, like, don't go buy a car, don't do anything drastic. I know you might want to go buy a bunch of furniture for your new house, but don't put it on credit. If anything, buy it with cash and make sure that you still have cash to close, which shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, just don't be like, okay, I got a new house, now I'm going to go splurge on a Range Rover, and then you're like, oh my God, lending has to go through underwriting again because of that. So anyways, that was very long, but in depth, and I hope you got value from that. And like I said, if you are moving here, I would love to help you. I get people reaching out all the time from YouTube, moving here, wanting to buy or sell, and I love it. So information is in the description, and if there's any other videos you want me to go over, I'd be happy to. Leave it in the comments. See you guys. Thank you. John Brown signing off. Peace.